Hello matey, how you doing? A very, very, very happy birthday to you, and congratulations for achieving such a bloody ripe old age. Fantastic, eh? You know, you're one of the few people I know who's lived through the Gulf War and 2 world wars, including the COVID one, of course. I bet you've got better memories of the World War than you have of this COVID episode, eh? I was thinking about what to say to you, and I realised then it's 50 years since I first met you in that porter cabin office in GK and Sankey. But before that, okay, not with you, but separately, we had both experienced something that no other generation can take away from us. The 60s. Fantastic, eh? What years they were. The word inappropriate hadn't even been invented then. So nothing was. Fantastic. Remember in GKN, I mean, what a massive place that was in its day. It's gone now. But we made everything, including steel furniture and filing cabinets and all that. But you were the boss in our porter cabin. So being the boss, you had a table with a drawer, rather la-di-da, because the rest of us shared tables without drawers. So there was always a lot of curiosity about why your tabletop was such a mess when you had a drawer. So one day when you opened it in front of us, what we saw was your pharmacy. Every painkiller known to man was stocked there. Everyone. You're a real hypochondriac, mate. Anyway, back to the porter cabin. We were a small group in there, but virtually, you remember, everyone smoked. An obnoxious Diane had the electric heater on full blast, as she wore virtually nothing to work, didn't she? Remember that? It was an awful place, but I guess we got used to it. You were always under pressure there, trying to keep the peace between a belligerent workforce and an incompetent management. Absolutely awful, weren't they? The only exception being our ultimate boss, Jack Turner, such a lovely guy, such a clever guy. And you and he were totally wasted there. I never knew whether it was job pressure or what, but I discovered you were a very fit guy. And in those days, fitness wasn't fashionable or something people did to work on. The most people did to keep fit was play football on a Sunday, really, once they got beyond school age. But you were a black belt judo, and I found out, I can't remember how, but you regularly went and swam a mile in the local swimming pool. But it was odd because despite it was a truly awful place, but we had some great times together. Remember lunch at the Bush in Hadley with Terry and Walter Green, half pint and a pie if we were feeling flush. And that guy used to play that awful country music on the jukebox about his dad being gored to death by a bull. Oh, what a morbid lunch. But it was good. It was good days. Oh, Walter, he was a nerd, wasn't he, before nerds were even invented. Do you remember he had a calculator, a battery-powered calculator, when we were still struggling with slide rules? Anyway, for me that came to an end fairly soon because I was offered a job in Bahrain. And this was the start of a process which happily shaped our lives and friendships through to today. After what was a short honeymoon, we returned to Bahrain, and you gave up what was another decent job with Anglesey Aluminium to return to St George's. And had a pretty miserable time, I know that. It was some years later when you made the move back to the Gulf, and I was very grateful when you contacted me about working again for you in Dubai Aluminium. Dubai was a challenging place to work for everyone, and made more so with the difficulties you faced on the home front with Chris. After she finally returned to the UK, you had a bit of a wild spell, including infamous nights where we all gathered around your huge organ and drank everything we could lay our hands on. Remember the famous night when Woody danced on your dining table until it collapsed? Probably doing his chicken dance, so I can't recall. Despite the work and the wild nights, you became Uncle Glyn to our kids, Samia and Jonathan, who of course send you their love and best wishes, and forever remember those days. Ultimately, when you happily met and married Grace, you finally settled down to a proper life in Dubai. Sid and I used to laugh at your antics, the pair of you. You would see a sale advert in the Gulf News and grumble to me, bloody hell, Grace just can't walk past a sale sign no matter where there is anything you need, or even if it was a bargain. And then at the same time, she would display her purchases to Sid and carefully stash them under the bed and other high. You used your time well in Dubai to get a look at the Southern Hemisphere. And after a nail-biting time, you both made it to Perth and both became proud Aussies. Congratulations on that. You certainly made a fabulous choice in picking Perth and your home, and despite being so remote with the rest of the world, you've entertained many old mates, including us, in your wonderful home. You picked a great spot, lovely friends and neighbours, plus golf, and you discovered wheelchairs for kids. I didn't really understand the importance of that until you took me on a visit. What a great place. What a fantastic enterprise. A perfect place to contribute something to kids desperately in need of assistance, and still mixing and having the crack with other old people, some rumoured to be a bit even older than you, but I was never quite convinced about that. When we both left the Gulf, I sort of felt we'd never probably cross paths, see each other again. I never imagined we'd see you in Thailand.
Happy birthday, Glyn. Have a brilliant day. So pleased to be involved in your 80th, and take care, and love to Grace. Hi, Glyn.
Two men in a boat. Glyn and Barry Podmore built a canal boat, and when it was finished, Glyn invited me to go with him for a few days cruising on the Shropshire Union Canal. I wanted to take my eldest son with me on the cruise, but my wife Sheila would have none of it. I think she was worried that he might not come back. I think she was right. I made my way to the location of the mooring, which was fairly close to a place called Gailey. Glyn was already there, stowing sleeping bags and spare clothes. He was quite keen to embark, as we were to rendezvous with Barry and his family, who were riding in a large canal cruiser, different to our boat, which was only a two-man affair. Glyn stayed on dry land in order to cast off. I was left on board to steer the boat, as the engine had been started and the boat was on idle. It started drifting towards the middle of the canal and was now too far away from the shore for Glyn to board, so I thought. The next thing I knew was Glyn was sizing up the distance from shore to boat, and like a long distance jumper, he launched himself in the air and landed on a ledge about 4 inches wide. Unfortunately, the ledge was covered with water and he slipped down the side of the boat into the canal up to his waist. However, he got a good grip on a rail and he managed to haul himself on board the boat. I think this incident set the tone for the whole weekend. The next half hour was spent teaching me how to steer and who gives way to who in the event of oncoming traffic. At this point, it started to rain and didn't stop until we were back in the dock. The first stop was the Wolverhampton Tar Works. When we got to the length of canal associated with the tar works, there were several figures standing on the bank having a smoke. They were most notable by the colour, for they were all as black as the ace of spades.
With striking pink eyes.
Yeah,
I've heard the story before, to make me laugh.
which was strikingly pink. Obviously, most of the process involved working with a black dust which covered everything. They were quite pleased to see us and were very soon laughing at us because the boat came to a grinding halt. Glyn came to check on the engine and we discovered that the canal was chock-a-block with weeds. It took several hours to clear the propeller of weeds and we soon looked like the guys on the tar factory, black from head to foot. Anyway, we made it through, and as it was getting dark, we stopped off at a pub called the Navigation. We stumbled back from the pub, well oiled and prepared to bunker down for the night. It was still raining, so we shut the overhead window and prepared for bed. We soon found out that the boat got very warm inside with no air circulating. Anyway, as the night wore on, all the beer we had drunk started to require us to spend a penny, and we opened the Elson toilet. What a mistake that was. Unbeknown to us, Barry's 2 boys on his last outing had used it without any chemicals. The smell was unbearable. We opened the window in spite of the rain and spent a very damp night in bed. Next day we caught up with Barry and his family and stopped at Shugborough Hall, which was our place to turn round and go back. What could go wrong? Well, when we started the engine up next day, the propeller fell off the shaft and Glyn decided it must be found. And he struggled and he stripped to the waist and hung off the back of the boat upside down. After about 20 minutes, he felt the propeller on the bottom of the canal, and sure enough, the split pin had sheared off. We had no shear pins with us, so luckily Glyn had a very small Seagull engine, which was okay, but very underpowered, and we only covered a few small distances until we got to a mooring where various things could be bought, i.e. diesel, petrol, etc., and as luck would have it, nails, which were just matched the hole in the shaft which held the propeller. So refitting the propeller with the nail bent over to prevent it dropping off, we made port without further trouble. I don't know what happened to the boat, but perhaps Glyn knows. Needless to say, I was put off canal boating for life.
We just wanted to wish you a really happy birthday. Hope you and Grace have a lovely day and lots more lovely surprises. So big happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Have a lovely time. Take care. Bye.
Bye.